observation regarding biblical symbolic language, especially as it appears in apocalyptic literature. In the last video, I stumbled a bit over whether I was talking about 4 kings or 4 kingdoms, and the reason for that is because the stories here in Daniel stumble a little bit, and it's confusing. Are we talking about kings or kingdoms? At one moment we think we're talking about kings, and another minute we think we're talking about kingdoms. So, for example, in Daniel 2, Daniel's giving the interpretation. He says, "You, O king, the king of kings," and then a little interlude about how powerful Nebuchadnezzar is, but he gets back to it after the dash. "You, O king, you are the head of gold." So now it seems King Nebuchadnezzar is the head of gold. "Another kingdom inferior to you shall arise after you." So if we're just reading straight through the interpretation here, Daniel's saying the head of gold is King Nebuchadnezzar, and then the arms, the chest and arms of silver, is a kingdom, and yet a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all of the earth. There shall be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron. So, according to the interpretation so far, it seems like the 4 parts are a king and then 3 kingdoms. It seems a little bit uneven, but okay, that could be possible. But then in verse 44, Daniel himself, in the same interpretation, says, "In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom." Well, wait a minute. Which kings? Those kings. It seems that he's talking about the four kings, but he's just been talking about one king, and there was only one king that's been mentioned here, and 3 kingdoms. Who are those kings? Well, in fact, those kings are the 4 kings of the 4 kingdoms. It's king and kingdom are being used interchangeably. We'll see more. I'll explain more. We'll see that more as we go. In the days of those kings, the God will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. So it's back and forth between kings and kingdoms, which is that Daniel does same sort of thing. At first, he says the straightforward interpretation of the vision: the 4 great beasts are 4 kings. Okay, well, in the dream, it was 1 king and 3 kingdoms. But then the talk of the kingdoms turned into talk of kings. Well, here he just says the 4 great beasts are 4 kings. But then when he's talking more about it and clarifying, Daniel says, I want more information about this 4th beast. And his explainer says, "As for the 4th beast, there shall be a 4th kingdom on the earth." And so now the 4th beast is being described as a kingdom rather than a king as it was up here. And not only that, but this 4th kingdom shall be different from all the kingdoms. What all the kingdoms? Well, the other 3 kingdoms that we were talking about. Oh, but I thought that there were 3 kings, not 3 kingdoms. But now all the rest of them are kingdoms. And then as we go, well, actually the 4th beast is a kingdom, and it has 10 horns, and out of this kingdom you get 10 kings. If you get hung up on asking the question, all right, which is it? Are we talking about kings or kingdoms? You're asking the wrong question. Is that this is in fact the ambiguity is intentional. Kings can represent kingdoms. Kingdoms can represent kings. If we say King Henry V invaded France, we don't mean that all by himself he picked up his sword and spear and javelin and crossed the channel, that King Henry by himself. No, if we say King Henry invaded France, we mean as the representative leader, as the commander, he led the charge to invade France. Or even we could talk about a king. He doesn't go into battle himself. He just issues the command. We can still say that the king did it, or the kingdom did it, because the king represents the kingdom. So there's this representative, one figure, one word can represent the whole. And in literature, synecdoche is when the part represents the whole, and there's plenty of that. And apocalyptic literature, symbolic literature in the Bible makes plentiful use of this, and they say, well, that gets confusing. Well, if to someone who's maybe a mathematician and you're looking for a one-to-one correspondence, it's confusing. But again, from a poetic and interpretive viewpoint, it's a feature, not a bug, because allowing for a little bit of ambiguity allows to roll back and forth. Sometimes maybe I want to focus more specifically on the king. Sometimes I want to focus more specifically on the kingdom. But if you ask, oh, you said that there's going to be four kingdoms, and you said there's going to be four kings. Tell me the name of these four kings. Well, I may not be able to tell you the name of four kings because maybe one of the kingdoms had multiple kings. In fact, the fourth kingdom has 10 horns who are kings. And so which of the 10 horns, which of the 10 kings is the king of that kingdom? And you're asking the kind of you're forcing the symbolic literature to answer questions that it doesn't want to answer, that you're forcing on it a structure that it didn't want to have. It wants to be able to fluidly, I might talk about kingdoms at one moment and then focus in on maybe a particular king of that kingdom, but then focus back in on the larger kingdom dimension. Allowing for this fluidity is a feature of symbolic language that you can tap into kind of the richness of interconnections, relationships between things like kings and kingdoms, and alternatively focus on different aspects of it using the same language that then is going to tie the whole concept together. So there's going to be four kingdoms followed by one eternal kingdom. We could just as well say there's going to be four kings who's going to be followed by one eternal, one forever king. And that's the way that symbolic language often works.